Hello and welcome back to the channel. The new year is almost upon us, and it's about that time that folks start making their top 10 lists for 2022. I looked at the action figures I picked up in the past year and I couldn't pick just 10. I couldn't even pick 20. So here are my favorite 30 new figures from 2022. And yes, I said favorite new figures, not top 30 figures. I'm not going to rank these from 1 to 30. I collect so many different styles and lines. I think trying to objectively compare, say, a Transformer to a Mego figure to an Action Force figure is like comparing apples to oranges. So rather than do a countdown ranking, I'm going to present my 30 favorites in no particular order, broken down by brand. Let's get started. My mantra for Marvel Legends this year was bring on the bad guys. I don't have any interest in figures from the MCU, so I'm glad to see Marvel Legends continuing to bring out new characters from the classic Marvel comics. My top 5 Marvel Legends this year are Rhino and Scorpion, both from the Spider-Man animated retro card line. One of Thor's enemies, the giant rock troll Ulik. And 2 more obscure characters, the High Evolutionary and Psycho Man, both from the Fantastic Four animated retro card wave. And the High Evolutionary's obscurity may soon come to an end, as he's the main villain in the upcoming Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 film. Action Force by independent toy maker Valaverse came out of the gate red hot in 2022, and the line has quickly become a fan favorite, due to their quality, value, articulation, and the insane amount of accessories that come with each figure. My 2 favorites from the line this year are the Wasp Raider, which was a BotCon exclusive, a repaint of the Action Force Swarm Trooper, done as an homage to Beast Wars Waspinator, and Desert Rat, a figure based on real-life veteran, the host of Analog Toys on YouTube, and my friend Tony Roberts. Bobby Vallo, the creator of Valaverse, has big plans for this line in the future. So Action Force is definitely one to watch in 2023. This may shock some of you, but despite me picking up many figures from the line this year, there are not any Motu Origins figures on my list. I don't know why that is. Maybe it's because most of them are just updated figures of toys that I owned 25, 30 years ago. But despite that, I do have these 2 Masters of the Universe figures on my list from the Masterverse line. These are the updated Masterverse versions of She-Ra, Princess of Power, and her arch-villain Hordak, leader of the evil Horde. I did a video on these 2, and they are both quite nice figures. And last time that I was in Target, they were both heavily stocked. So pretty easy to get at the time of this recording. Super 7 is a company that's no stranger to controversy, and they've received praise and a fair amount of criticism for their Ultimates line of figures, with cost, quality, and lack of modern articulation being at the top of the list when it comes to criticism. But despite that, these 2 figures, Captain Hammerhand and the Snowman of Hook Mountain from their Thundercats Ultimates line, have made it into my top 30 of the year. I don't have many figures from this line, just a half dozen, but out of the ones I purchased, these 2 are my favorites. The only Star Wars figure in my favorites for the year is not a Hasbro figure. It's this Boba Fett by Stan Solo. This chromed version of Boba Fett was an exclusive to Iconicon 2022, and it's been done in the colors of the Iconicon logo. Not only is this a great looking figure, but it's a reminder of the fantastic time I had at the Iconicon meetup over the summer, where I got to meet in person for the first time many of the friends I've made through the YouTube toy community. This figure hangs proudly in the middle of my Star Wars toy display. There are a lot of great offerings from Mego across their various brands, but my favorite from the year is Deathstroke the Terminator. Constructed on their new style Mego body, Deathstroke is a fantastic looking figure, from the detail on his costume to the multiple accessories that he comes with. This is a great looking figure that easily makes my favorite list for the year. At first I was unsure about how Jada, a company known for making die-cast vehicles, would fare in the action figure market. But I was pleasantly surprised by one of their first offerings, the Creature from the Black Lagoon from their licensed Universal Monsters 6-inch figure line. The Gill Man is my favorite character out of the Universal's Monsters Pantheon, and I was quite pleased with this figure of him. So much so that later on in the year, I also ordered the glow-in-the-dark version. Considering my love of 5 POA figures, as well as classic iterations of Marvel Comics characters, the Marvel Legends 3 3/4 inch line hits all the right buttons for me. And these two figures are my favorites from that line for this year. The Falcon in his classic 1970s costume reminds me of one of my favorite comic book runs, the Jack Kirby Captain America and the Falcon series from the 1970s, as well as one of my favorite figures from the old Mego Superheroes line. And Nova is a character I've enjoyed from his original series, to his role in the New Warriors, to his starring role as the hero of the Annihilation crossover event. And Hasbro's Marvel Legends team has really been impressing me with the card art on these figures. They both look great. I do not collect wrestling figures, but in this case I made an exception. This is Andre the Giant as Bigfoot from the $6 Million Man, part of the WWE Hollywood Elite series. This figure was extremely hard to get, and the pre-order I had in for him was pushed back no less than 4 times. But he did eventually arrive, and I'm glad he did. He's a very nice figure, about 8 inches tall, with a full fur bodysuit. Now all I need is for someone to make a 6-inch scale Steve Austin figure to go with him. Xenozilla and Predacon, 2 6-inch scale kaiju mashup figures from new toy company Resurrection Toys. Resurrection Toys is a new venture that is bringing products from toy makers in Mexico to the rest of the world. And I do look forward to seeing what they plan to release in 2023. And you can always tell it's a toy from Mexico thanks to those great light-up effects. I've had a growing love-hate relationship with Transformers over the past year. My love of the brand being tempered by rising costs, shrinking size classes, and materials cutbacks and quality issues. But despite that, I've still got a few Transformers on my favorite list for the year. We have the new version of Beast Wars Ravage, as he was seen in the 3-part episode The Agenda, and that figure also came with a reproduction of his original G1 cassette mode. Cosmos from the Legacy Velocitron 500 collection, a short-packed figure that has been long sold out and in much demand, but I just happened to come across one of him at a Walmart 2 days before Christmas. The updated version of Tarantulas from the Legacy line is a recent release that also made my list because he really looks great. And we also have Studio Series 86 Perceptor, as he was seen in the classic Transformers the movie. I don't have many figures from the G.I. Joe classified line, but from the few I have, my favorite would have to be this one, Spirit Iron Knife. Everything comes together nicely on this figure. The sculpt, the paint, articulation, accessories, and his eagle partner Freedom. It looks like Hasbro has committed to bringing a lot of the old Real American Hero characters into the new classified line, which is great news for Joe fans going into the new year. I'm always impressed with Bandai's Movie Monster series, a 6-inch series that continues to draw from the entirety of Godzilla's history, from the Showa era right up to the Monsterverse. My 2 favorite figures from the line for 2022 are 2 of Godzilla's enemies from the early 1970s. Megalon, the champion of the underwater kingdom of Seatopia, from the much derided but still entertaining film Godzilla vs. Megalon, and Hedorah, from the Godzilla film with an environmentally conscious message, Godzilla vs. Hedorah, also known as Godzilla vs. the Smog Monster. NECA really impressed me with this version of the Phantom from their original Superheroes line. This figure, based on the original comic strip by Lee Falk, has great articulation, a number of great accessories, and some very nice paintwork. I was able to supplement this figure with a wolf from the G.I. Joe Classified line, and a horse from the McFarlane Spawn line. For the longest time, I was on the fence about picking up the Goliath figure from NECA's Disney's Gargoyles line. But I finally caved, and I'm glad I did. Goliath is one of the best characters to come out of the old Disney afternoon block, voiced by the amazing Keith David. The figure looks great, and I'm happy to say I have not had any quality issues with it. NECA is expanding this line to include all the members of the Manhattan Clan, but for my part, I stopped with just Goliath and Bronx, due to both the cost and the real estate that these guys take up on a display shelf with those giant wings. NECA has gotten a lot of mileage out of Flash Gordon and Ming the Merciless in their 7-inch figure ranges, releasing different figures for Defenders of the Earth, original superheroes, and the 1980 Flash Gordon film. But my favorites from the bunch are these, based on the old Mattel toy line, which was in turn based on the Filmation animation. That was one of my favorite childhood toy lines, and one of my favorite card designs of all time. So I'm glad that NECA faithfully recreated it with these figures. That's it for my favorite new 30 figures from 2022. Do you guys have any of these figures, and did they make your top rankings for the year? If not, what are your favorite pickups from 2022? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next year.